Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We are in the kitchen again tonight, and tonight we are going to make muffins. I haven't made muffins for the channel before, and I've had a couple of requests, so today we're going to make muffins. It's going to be fun. We're just going to make a basic muffin, nothing added, just your basic muffin that you can modify to your heart's content. And the way we're going to do that is very, very simple. So you're going to start by preheating your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. In a moment, you're going to hear my oven beep. There it goes. It is now preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's start adding our ingredients. You want to start with 2 cups of flour, just nice all-purpose flour. Follow that with half a cup of sugar. You can add a little more sugar if you like them a little sweeter. I don't. So you could add an extra 1/4 cup, no more than that, if you want a sweeter muffin. Next, we're going to add 3 teaspoons of baking powder, not soda, baking powder, and half a teaspoon of salt. Any salt you have, that's table salt, but you can use Himalayan salt, sea salt, kosher salt, doesn't matter. So then we're just going to mix those dry ingredients together, just like that. And we're going to create a little well in the middle, just somewhere to dump our wet ingredients. Go right to the bottom. There we go. And I'm just using a rubber spatula. You don't want to mix this too much. Don't use a mixer. It makes it too smooth. You don't want it too smooth. So to that, we are going to add 3/4 of a cup of milk. Just dump that right in the well. And 1/3 of a cup of a fat. So I'm using just a vegetable oil, but you can use a butter or even a margarine. I don't really like margarine in this, but you can. But you have to melt it first. So you could melt some butter, 1/3 of a cup, and put it in there. As long as you have 1/3 of a cup of some fat, you're fine. Then we're going to add 1 egg. Just 1 whole egg. Just pop that in there. So then we're going to take our spatula, smoosh that egg. There we go. Get that egg kind of beaten up in there a little bit. And then just start mixing. So you want to be not totally smooth, because you do want these muffins to have a little bit of texture. These aren't cupcakes after all. So give that a really good mix, but you still want a little bit of texture in there. That's good, right there. There we go. So you want so you don't want it super runny. This isn't a cupcake. You want it to kind of clump like that. Okay, so you want all the dry ingredients mixed into the wet ingredients, all of them. There we go. So you don't want to see any clumps of dry ingredients. So scrape on your sides and everything, but you also don't want to try to make this too smooth. Okay, you want some texture. So at this point, you could easily mix in some chocolate chips or whatever you wanted. I'm not, because this is just a very basic muffin recipe. Hang on 1 sec while I grab my scoop. All right, sorry, forgot my scoop. There it is. So, we need something to scoop the muffins with, and we need a muffin pan. Here's mine. So, preparing your muffin pan. Set your batter aside. You're just going to ignore it for a few minutes. It is better if it just sits for a few minutes, but while you're preparing your pan. So, you can prepare your pan in a couple of different ways. If you want to bake your muffins straight in the tins, you can just spray some cooking spray, and they'll pop right out. I'm not going to do that because I want liners. So you can use paper liners. I have these paper liners that are multicolor. These are pretty normal. Everyone has these. You can pop them in there. Or you can use what I prefer, and I'm using silicone liners. I'll put a link. I've got 12 of them. I'll put a link to a set of these in the video description, just because I really love these. And I highly recommend them to everyone. They're really, really easy to use. Now, how many muffins are we making? Well, you could do 12 muffins, and they'd just be standard little muffins. But I actually want better muffins than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put only 6 liners in. And then what you want to do is stagger them like this. So we don't want to do all down one side. We want to kind of stagger them. So then we put one here, one over here, and one over here. And we want to really fill these muffins. Okay, we want to really fill them up. So we're going to just take this, and instead of doing 2/3 full, we want to really fill these muffins up. So we'll smush them down in just a minute. So I am doing only a few muffins. Okay, we'll make it a little more even in a minute. I'm just getting the batter into my cups here. So you're either making 12 or 6. You could also go somewhere in between. You can decide I'm going to make 8. But if you're doing this method where you want really big, fluffy muffins, you do need to leave space between them. So there's not really room for 8. So I'm going to have to steal some from over there because that's the way it always happens. I'm not great at dividing. So what I'm going to have to do is scrape out the rest of this. How about that? And what we want to do is make these more evenly filled. So you can see I've got a lot in those two and the other ones don't have as much. There we go. So what we want to do is take a little bit from this one and add it to this one. Take a little bit from this guy, add it to this guy. I think this guy's okay. So what we want to do is take the back of our scoop or spoon or whatever we used and push it down into there. Okay, so you have a pretty full muffin cup. You can see that it's all the way full. Okay, all the way is the way I'm going to go here. You can do the traditional 2/3 or 3/4 of a muffin cup full, but I'm not going to do that because I want really nice, big, fluffy muffins. So just give that a good push so that you know it's in there. And you can use your fingers because this is not a super wet dough. Okay, now these will expand. At some point, I always get bored of using a spoon or other utensil, and I just use my fingers. That's just easier. So then at this point, if you see that one needs a little bit more, you can steal it from one of the other ones. Okay? So I really do recommend the silicone liners. Okay, we're not bad. All right, so we're going to get rid of this. Don't need it anymore. And we're going to pop these in the oven, and we're going to put them in the oven for 25 minutes. You're only going to go about 20 minutes if you're making smaller muffins, but the point is here, we're going to make nice, big bakery-style muffins. So they're not going to be little teeny, ooh, there we go. We're going to get nice, poof, big muffins. So we're going to pop these in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 25 minutes. We'll be back when they're baked. And there we have it. Nice, big, fluffy muffins, just plain muffins, just a standard recipe. You can see how nice they look, and they come right out of the silicone molds. Really, really easy, so you don't have that problem with peeling all the paper off. So again, I will put a link to a set of these in the video description simply because I swear by them. I use them all the time. Rarely do I bake muffins without these molds unless I'm baking a lot for like a bake sale or something. Otherwise, I use these silicone molds here at home. And again, these guys pop right out. So easy to use and easy to wash. They go right in your dishwasher, or you can just rinse them in the sink depending on the recipe and if it was sticky or not. So that is a basic muffin recipe. So I hope you enjoyed making muffins with us here today at Andersen Acres, and I do hope you'll do this one at home. You can jazz it up with blueberries or chocolate chips or really anything your heart desires, and maybe we'll do that in future videos. But for now, we'll see you tomorrow.